ECOWAS need to announce the results for credibility and for accountability and for electoral integrity in West Africa. We cannot continue, because at the end of the day, what this signals is future coup, that when they take over, they can renegotiate with ECOWAS and then they give a timeline and that's it. No, ECOWAS must learn from previous mistakes. It must not allow this to continue.
Pereira, he can't resume, you understand, active politics, nor give an interview to the press. And he can't leave his house for shopping or something else. So that's why the people of Guinea Bissau are not happy with that kind of situation.
Hello and welcome to Channel Africa Conversations. I'm your host, Peter Ndoro. Thanks so much indeed for tuning in to this episode. And we begin today in West Africa, where we see political uncertainty continuing to grip Guinea Bissau. Now, the country's military-led authorities have released a prominent opposition political leader, Domingos Simões Pereira, and this is following days of detention that drew regional and international concern. The junta has since pledged to form what it calls an inclusive transitional government as the country edges towards national elections, which have now been scheduled for later this year, December the 6th, we believe. But on the streets of Bissau and across the political landscape, skepticism, suspicion remains high. Questions persist about who truly holds power, whether opposition voices will be allowed meaningful participation, and how much influence regional bodies like ECOWAS can actually exert in steering the country back towards what could be described as stable civilian rule. Well, to help us make sense of these developments, we are joined on Channel Africa Conversations by Alberto Dabo, who's a journalist in Guinea Bissau. And we begin, though, with Austin Aigbe, who's an Advocacy Officer at the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS, which is the transitional democracy solidarity network that aims to mobilize, coordinate, and leverage the collective power of pro-democracy actors. And to you, Austin, I say very warm welcome to Channel Africa Conversations. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. And let me ask you this first question. This release of Mr. Pereira, does this represent a genuine move forward towards democracy, or do you think there may be some political games that are being played by the military?
Again, thank you very much, Peter, and thanks for having me. Just to go straight to the question, it is a politically motivated release. You are aware that ECOWAS have tried to mediate for their release. But sincerely, why their release is good news, but the real challenge is the restoration of democracy in Guinea-Bissau. There is no need trying to play the game. We know the strategy. Release them based on the agreement the military regime have had with ECOWAS, give them certain positions in government and in the transition committee or council, and then before you know what's happening, they become part of the military regime and then try to extend the regime beyond December of this year. It's strategic. So by the time you make it look like an inclusive government, so there'll be no need for an election. There'll be no need to talk about the democracy. There'll be no need to talk about November election. The whole idea of an election is for the people's will to stay put. And as we speak, the people's will has been undermined by the military regime in Bissau. And that's why we are saying that even though the release is fantastic, declare the result of the November election. So let's even know.
So apart from, let's separate these things a little bit. What are the indicators for you? We know what what's happened in other countries, but what are the indicators for you in Guinea-Bissau that give you a sense that this is going to be another one of those stories where the military is playing games and is actually just going to stay in power?
So, I mean, maybe to take it slowly. So first was an election in Bissau where we have argued that it was the president who lost the election, Umbalo, that staged a coup in that country. So we must establish that fact. Ahead of the declaration of an election, there was a coup d'etat, and the military, his own friends, took over power, a coup that Umbalo Sisi declared by himself. That's one. Then secondly, ECOWAS went in to try to mediate, to say, release these individuals that have been arrested. Ferdinando arrested. However, the main opposition, Fernando, has seek refuge in the Nigerian embassy. Both are now free, even though Domingo is still under house arrest. So the release is good. That's my position. But looking at what has happened historically in West Africa, that release is somehow going to consolidate the military guys in power. We have seen it in Niger. In Niger, the election was supposed to be, even talking about, I mean, they were not even talking about election though, but there was supposed to be a transition process. But that transition gradually included civilian authority in the military regime. And today we're no longer talking about election in Niger. We're not talking about a Sahel regime, a Sahel collective, with including Guinea Bissau, including Burkina Faso and Mali, to then put out from ECOWAS. That is the playbook. And we are saying that, so we will not be talking about Guinea Bissau, that, oh, it may be different. We assume it may be different. But what if it is not different? We are asking that declare the results, as former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, said, declare the election because the election was concluded. Declare the results. So we then know who won the election. Then it can then maybe replica of what happened in Nigeria in the June 12 of 1983, where the former president, military president of Nigeria, refused to declare the result. But later, we then knew, okay, it was SYZ who won the election, then MK Abiola. Then it's on record. Declare the results.
My understanding is that some of the key electoral material has been destroyed. Is there enough evidence still to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt what the result was?
It is. The result, polling unit results happen at the polling unit level. So the key challenge that the Electoral Commission is arguing is that key materials have been destroyed. The key material is at the collation point. So what you do, you go back to the polling unit result. All of the political actors, including observer groups, so have those results. The election took place at the polling unit and not at the collation point. Declare the results, recollate those results at the polling unit and announce the result formally.
Do we have enough evidence that President Umbalo staged this coup himself?
Enough evidence, because it was the one who placed the call. Hello, I have been, there's coup. I have been toppled by the military coup. Have you ever seen that in a military coup? It's weird. He announced his own coup. That's the first time. That's not a coup. That's management. He knew he cannot go ahead to impose himself as president of Bissau. So he would rather use his friend, his chief of staff, etc., to announce the military coup. It's certain he announced the coup. And I made an announcement on your program, on your radio, before Goodluck Jonathan further supported my argument. So this is just political theorizing. Umbalo declared, organized his own coup, and announced his own coup.
So what can happen then to ensure that this result is declared? Must the regional authorities step in? What should the opposition do?
As of this time, the regional authority, which is ECOWAS, seemed to align with the military regime that December will be election, and there's that level of agreement. Further agreement is that those two individuals, Fernando and Domingo, should be released, which the military authority have done. The further agreement was that let there be an inclusive government, let there be seats for these leading opposition candidates, and that the military have done. In all honesty, the military has done the agreement with ECOWAS, but ECOWAS did not have agreement with this key opposition. What the key opposition is saying is that they don't want to have their name in the mud. They don't want to dirty their name, in quote, I would say, in Africa. I don't want to have my name in the mud. I don't want to dirty the name, the good name I've made. So the opposition candidates are saying, which of course, I don't know whether I'm right to call them opposition candidate, because I think they are the elected official as of this time. If they are saying that they don't want to be involved in the military regime, it means that ECOWAS needs to step back in its agreement with the military regime and go have an agreement with these key actors. That is the position today I think ECOWAS should go with. ECOWAS cannot speak on behalf of these two candidates because they work their way under the constitution of that country to emerge leaders, in quotes, because the election has not been announced officially. But everybody knows, including the EU team, the ECOWAS team that observed the election. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is a reference point in this case. He has announced the result. That a few hours before the declaration of the election, there was a staged coup. And ECOWAS is already mediating. ECOWAS needs to announce the results for credibility and for accountability and for electoral integrity in West Africa. We cannot continue, because at the end of the day, what this signals is future coup. That when they take over, they can renegotiate with ECOWAS and then they give a timeline and that's it. No, ECOWAS must learn from previous mistakes. It must not allow this to continue.
So your position is just declare the results, no more elections in December or in the future at all?
Declare the results, announce the winners, let the constitution of that country prevail, because every country is governed by its own constitution. In this case, ECOWAS is not imposing anything. ECOWAS is saying, declare the results, recollect it. If you have materials at the collation point, go pick up the polling result and declare the results appropriately. That is the good thing to do.
So are we saying that the opposition parties should not participate in this transitional arrangement? Because if they do, they're almost endorsing the plan.
Exactly, and that is why they decline not to participate. So ECOWAS need to also honor their decision. Take their decision in. Their decision not to participate, it needs to be properly negotiated. ECOWAS need to go back to these actors and have that conversation for an agreement to happen. So it's okay, well, this is the position. Why don't we take them out of Guinea Bissau, like what happened in Sierra Leone? The former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Camara, I can't remember his last name, was taken out for peace to reign in Sierra Leone. If that's what will need to happen, take the two actors away, free Domingo from his house arrest, get Fernando out, get them asylum somewhere in West African country, and then head towards the December election, bring them back. Maybe if they win election, fine, but what if there is no election in December? So we have to look at all of this scenario. But what I'm saying is that you must respect the views of these actors because they know the result. They have the result in their political party agent, with their political party agent, and they have their result already collected by their party structure. They have the result. They have won the election.
What signs should we look out for if we are to assure ourselves that this transition is real or it's simply being managed from behind the scenes?
The signs we should look out for is simple. A military regime in Bissau that may extend beyond December, a shrinking civic space wherein people can no longer speak. We are seeing that already in the Sahel states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. I'm sure you are aware, many people are aware, if you go against military authority in this Sahel state, particularly in Burkina Faso, if you criticize the government of having not dealt with insecurity, you are giving arms to go fight this insurgency. So this playbook may gradually go into Guinea Bissau. But my worry is that today we still have an ECOWAS standby force in that country. Among the deal that was agreed on is to withdraw the call for the withdrawal of this standby force, ECOWAS standby force, which Umbalo has requested for more than a year ago when he dissolved the parliament, when he announced an attempted coup in the country when he was the president of that country. I don't know what ECOWAS standby force will be doing in a country that is not respecting its own constitution. So what we should be looking out for is enforcement of constitutional order. However ECOWAS will do it, I think ECOWAS should enforce constitutional order and not undermine the will of the people. It brings about distrust. The citizens may not trust ECOWAS again. And I think ECOWAS have the opportunity to leverage on its convening power to have the constitutional order in that country.
What is the danger for the broader region? I mean, I think this is the 9th coup, or in the last 6 years or something like that in West and Central Africa. If Guinea-Bissau's military is allowed to get away with this, what will that mean for the region generally?
That means that any country's military can truly embark on a coup. You have the one in Nigeria recently. Officially, it's been announced that there was an attempted coup last year, September, October. There are many people still talking about the likelihood that it may reoccur. So you are giving strength to the military in the region and, of course, in the continent, on the continent. That you can embark on a coup like the one we saw in Benin last year. If it hadn't been for the citizens who didn't support the coup, I tell you, the coup in Benin would have succeeded. If the citizens are turned out on the street to support the military coup, I tell you for sure that coup would have succeeded. Let's not make the citizens the bargaining factor. Let's allow the citizens to truly be the determining factor. ECOWAS must stand on the side of the citizens. The same way they stood on the side of the citizens in Benin, they must stand on the side of the citizens in Guinea-Bissau and in any country where there's any attempted coup. The same way they stood on behalf of the citizens in Sierra Leone, they should stand with the citizens in Guinea-Bissau. And I think that that's the right thing to do.
Austin Aigbe, thank you very, very much indeed for joining us on Channel Africa Conversations.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to have me on this show. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
We continue to unpack the developments that have been taking place in Guinea-Bissau. So questions are being raised. Are the moves by the military genuine, honest, sincere, or is this chicanery? Well, let's try and find out what's been happening inside the country and on the ground. And there we'll find Alberto Dabo, who's a journalist in the country. Alberto, bem-vindo. Thank you so much for joining us on Channel Africa Conversations.
Thank you.
So, Alberto, give us a sense of what the mood is like in Guinea-Bissau right now. How are people feeling? How are they reacting to Mr. Pereira's release?
Okay, the mood in Guinea-Bissau, it's a disappointment because Pereira have been released but on house arrest. Pereira, he can't resume, you understand, active politics, nor give an interview to the press. And he can't leave his house for shopping or something else. So that's why the people of Guinea-Bissau are not happy with that kind of situation because They say that it's a kind of a drift of autocracy that is doing the military junta.
So Mr. Pereira then effectively is still in detention, albeit it's at home. What about Mr. Diaz's release? Has that been received with some jubilation, or is the focus mostly on Mr. Pereira?
Nobody jubilated. Nobody celebrated, you understand, the release of Fernando Diaz, who is supposed for having won the presidential elections, because Mr. Fernando Diaz is still claiming victory during the last year presidential elections. And then Mr. Pereira is demanding the Guinea Bissau authorities to please announce the result of the last presidential polls.
Your understanding, who won the last election? Who do the people of Guinea-Bissau believe won the last election?
Who won the last election is, you understand, the alliance between Domingos Simões Pereira of the Party of Independence for Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde Island, and Fernando Diaz, because the coup d'etat, you understand, of what the people are talking about, it wasn't a coup d'etat. It's a mock of coup d'etat. That's why, you understand, the people of Guinea-Bissau, it's the overwhelming majority is saying that normally, in order to return in our constitutional order, we must announce first the result of the last presidential poll.
When you say mock coup, what do you mean by that? We're hearing speculations, but
mock coup, it was a coup d'etat that was invented. It wasn't a coup d'etat. It's a kind, if you see, of agreement between the high-ranking officials of the army and the outgoing president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, who is outside now, I think in Morocco, and who is keep on ruling, you understand, Guinea-Bissau.
And he's using the military to do that. What kind of
Yes.
What kind of restrictions, if any, are opposition figures and ordinary citizens facing under the military at this time?
Well, if you see the situation, first, we have to talk about the recommendations of the ECOWAS, because ECOWAS Commission urge the authorities of transition to form an inclusive government for only 4 months transition. But the military junta said no. They must realize elections at the end of this year, 2026, 6th of December, 2026. But the the opposition parties and the organization of the civil societies, they say no. They disagree completely with the military junta because the military junta want to take back Umaru Sissoco Embalo in Guinea-Bissau. And you know, with the regime of Umaru Sissoco Embalo, you understand, the high-ranking officials of the army and the officials of Guinea-Bissau will keep on smuggling drugs, will keep on doing money laundering and organized crime, etc., etc.
How active are civil society groups, churches, people? Is there resistance? Are people wanting to go out on the streets and demand that the results be declared?
Well, they try to do something, but there is a crackdown of the security forces. The security forces who are arresting and detaining many activists of the civil societies, and then the military junta they forbid you understand, demonstrations and any other situation of press freedom. Even the journalists, we can't, you understand, talk, we can't realize press conferences in Guinea-Bissau without, you understand, a previous notice.
Has the military authority indicated who will be part of this transitional arrangement? I believe that certain seats were allocated to certain parties.
No, the militaries, they have created what we say the National Council of Transition with, you understand, the constitutional charter. That constitutional charter is will come to substitute, you understand, the normal constitution of the country. And then they have changed the constitution of Guinea-Bissau, passing from the parliamentary system to the presidential system. And normally, to pass from the parliamentary system to the presidential system, you must ask the population of Guinea-Bissau, you must ask all the people of Guinea-Bissau through a referendum. But as all the people of Guinea-Bissau disagree with this autocratic drift of the military junta, that's why, you understand, they are trying to do all they can. That's why they are trying by all means, you understand, to keep on ruling our country.
How are people feeling? You described the mood of disappointment, but is there fear as well with all these arrests that are happening?
Well, the people can't do, you understand, the people of Guinea-Bissau are very disappointed in this situation. But what I have said, the people is only claiming the victory of Fernando Diaz with his ally, Domingos Simões Pereira. And as you know, Domingos Simões Pereira, as the transitional Prime Minister Ilírio Vieira said, he said that Domingos Simões Pereira must be brought to justice because he is involved in $10 million diversion.
How credible is that? Is that something that could have happened?
Oh, you understand? We are in a military and political imbroglio. This issue is a little bit difficult because we are living what we say leadership crisis in Guinea Bissau. Since the murder of American in 20th of January 1973 in Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau is going from coup d'etat to coup d'etat. And up till now, we don't know where we are going. Because if you count from 1980 to this date, Guinea-Bissau has faced 20 coup d'etat. And among that coup d'etats, 4 are successful. And this situation is due to drug smuggling. And then is due to the interference of the high-ranking officials of the army in politics. And then if we want to have peace and stability in Guinea-Bissau, we must reform. We must implement that project of reshufflement of our armed forces. The armed forces have to go back to the barracks and leave the politics alone in order, you understand, to take forward the country of America Cabral.
If the military doesn't go back to the barracks, who can save Guinea-Bissau? ECOWAS?
ECOWAS can't save the Guinea-Bissau, no. ECOWAS can't save Guinea-Bissau because if you are in a country, if you are in a country where, you understand, there is a confusion between the state and the army. You understand? There is a confusion between the state and the army. There is a clear interference of the militaries, of the high-ranking officials of the army in politics. And so, how can you do ECOWAS because Guinea-Bissau is a sovereign country. We are sovereign people. We can't have interference of ECOWAS in Guinea-Bissau affairs. So, what we have to do, maybe ECOWAS must take severe sanctions against that high-ranking officials of the army in order to take them to retirement because they are very old and they are still in the armed forces. You understand? Nobody retired in the armed forces of Guinea Bissau. Nobody go to retirement in the public administration. And we must have the refoundation, what we call refoundation of Guinea-Bissau state. Otherwise, our country will keep on going straightly to chaos.
Alberto Dabo, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on Channel Africa Conversations.
Okay, many thanks.
Muito obrigado, adeus. That was Alberto.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. That was Alberto Dabo, who's a journalist inside Guinea, giving us a bleak picture of what's going on in the country there. He's saying that, look, this military is just not listening to ECOWAS, and if nothing happens, then things are just going to get from bad to worse. Well, that's how we come to the end of today's edition of Channel Africa Conversations. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in. And before I go, as always, I appeal to you to give us your thoughts about what you saw, what you've heard. Comment in the comment section below, but on your screen you can see our social media pages and also our email where you can send to us your thoughts. We'd like to know, A, what you think of the programs that you've seen, and also the kind of programs that you'd like to watch in the future. In other words, who do you want us to talk to and what about? We certainly look forward to your feedback. Until the next time, from me and the team, goodbye.
You are watching Channel Africa Conversations.